Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Angie This is Spiritual Discoveries. We haven't been on in a while, and I'm so excited to be back with my guest today, Greg Unterberger. Welcome, Greg.
Hey, a real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for us too, just to have an opportunity to talk to you about lots of things, but especially about your upcoming workshop at Fellowships of the Spirit this weekend.
Yeah, I'm really excited to present this material. I think it's going to be life-changing for our participants, and the ripples will go out from there. As we talk about it, you'll see how.
Yeah, it's groundbreaking, like you mentioned, because it's a. Let me pull it up for a second so everybody knows what we're talking about. So this is spiritual activation facilitator training level 1 with Greg Unterberger. Learn to recatalyze and deepen spiritually transformative experiences. I should have had this written so it's not so small, Greg. Like NDEs, peak moments, and mystical states using a unique modality developed by Greg Unterberger. So this workshop, just so everybody knows, is this weekend. It's from Friday, October 3rd until Sunday, October 5th, and it's at Fellowships of the Spirit Lakeside. So we're happy to have Greg, and I wanted to come on and get to talk to him about this. It's groundbreaking. This is brand new. You've never taught the facilitator part of this, right, Greg?
That's correct. This is the first time ever I'm going to start certifying people in this modality. I've been doing it for about 15 years, but this is the first time ever when we sort of gone public and said, we're going to actually train people in all the details so that they can do the technique appropriately and ethically and effectively.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about the technique and a little bit about the workshop?
Yeah. I would start, and other people have heard me talk about this before, but I'd start by saying, imagine for a moment the most profound spiritual experience you've ever had. Like you had this amazing meditation and you felt white light pulsing through your body, or maybe you were doing something with plant medicines and shot off into the cosmos or something like that. I mean, people say those are once in a lifetime kind of thing. Oh, I would kill to be able to re-experience that. Or wouldn't it be wonderful? Not just to remember it, but to really fully embody the experience again. And that's what spiritual activation does. It can take a prior spiritual experience that we've had and non-invasively and without any technical equipment or anything like that, we can refire the neural networks associated with that original experience that are laid down in the brain and reactivate the body, and people can relive that experience emotionally, physically, and mentally. So
Wow.
The possibility exists, and obviously it happens to varying degrees to different people.
Yeah.
But someone who's had a near-death experience then goes back and re-experiences that. Somebody that's had a white light experience, someone that had contact with grandma in a powerful dream, and we go back and now, there's grandma again. And not only can we recatalyze the experience, but there's always a potential that we can deepen the experience or enrich the experience or help you better understand the experience as you revisit it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And I understand that with meditations, because I've had some of those as well, that they've been so deep that I felt like I was actually talking to somebody that was there, or just really felt connected to my own spirituality. So you could take me back to that, because it does feel sometimes like it's a once in a lifetime thing. How can I go back?
Yeah, well, those are beautiful experiences, and people say things like, I've written a book called The Quickening, Leaping Ahead in Your Spiritual Journey. And the idea is that there's faster and better ways to get where we're going on our spiritual journey through direct experience. This is the path of the mystic that says, don't just tell me about it. I mean, I read a book about this experience, or, I studied, all the 8 principles of this and such. Okay, which is great. And I'm not taking anything away from that. But it is those experiences which really leap us forward on our spiritual journey. Carl Jung famously said when he was asked, do you believe in God? And he thought about it for a minute and he said, no, I don't believe in God. I know there's God. Yeah. And in it, to paraphrase him, in effect, he knew that because he directly experienced the divine. And so I think we all sort of crave that, actually. We want a larger than life experience, But, we think, oh gosh, you got to meditate for years to have that. Or, I got to fly to Brazil and do ayahuasca to do that. Or I have to experiment with drugs, or I have to, years of yoga or something. And what's wonderful about spiritual activation is we can take even a glimmer of a prior experience, reactivate the neural networks associated with that, and blow that person back into the experience.
Okay, that's awesome. So explain the neural networks for somebody like me who doesn't know what that means.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I want to keep it practical. So I'm actually glad that you asked that. Oh, several years ago, I was on Ocracoke Island, and it had been like 20 years, 30 years probably since I'd ridden a bike. And they say, well, you never forget how to ride a bike. Well, by golly, I got on a bike and I got back on that bike again. And when I first started, I was like back and forth with the handlebars. But pretty soon I was gliding along and pedaling and my balance was fine. Now, how is that possible? The answer is when we do something repeatedly or we've had an experience, there is a set of neural networks that are set up in the brain. And of course, the more that we do something, the better we get at it. And so you have people, if you sit me down with a guitar, I can't play squat. But people that have studied guitar for 5 or 10 years, they're singing along and they're chatting or having a conversation, or they're thinking about what they're going to buy at the grocery store while they play guitar. They can do that. How is that possible? There is a well-established superhighway of thought around playing the guitar or around riding a bike, or when we have a powerful experience that stays in a sort of a neural network, neurons that are they're just little things in the brain that wire together and set up a superhighway of thought around that. And what we want to do is be able to access that. We do that casually all the time when we say, oh, how's your weekend? And we think about it for a minute and we access those neural networks that have ingrained what we did last weekend, and then we sort of casually talk about it.
Yeah. It's almost like you go back there for a moment and you're actually really there. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. Well, what would happen is in brain spotting, we actually, without getting too detailed, we find an eye position that is in the visual field that correlates and stimulates that neural network and then plays it over and over and over and over. Okay. And it strengthens and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the Canadian psychologist Donald Hebb, very famous guy, said the neurons that fire together wire together. The more we play guitar, the better we are at it. Okay. The more we meditate, the better we get at it.
Absolutely.
What if we could intentionally fire those neural networks associated with connection to the divine and strengthen them so that they become bigger and stronger? And here's what's really cool about brain spotting. We just barely scratched the surface of the possibilities for this. Yeah. So let's imagine that we can activate the neural network associated with the most intense connection I've ever had to the divine. And then we fire that over and over and over again. Guess what? Just like riding a bike, it gets easier and easier to tap into that same neural network. Yeah. And instead of waiting around for fairy dust to fall so that I can have another experience like that, in my next meditation, I go to that memory and boom, the experience is there. Yeah. So the idea is not only does brain spotting have the potential to sort of hotwire your brain to the divine, okay, but it also has the potential, if it's done enough, to hardwire the brain divine. And so what might take 10 or 15 years in meditation, we can accelerate that process greatly by setting up an intense neural network, a super highway of thought. Here's your brain on God. Here's your brain on the divine. Here's your brain on mediumship, you know, and then access that. And we can do it through brain spotting, and there's no expensive equipment, 3-day training, and you're doing it for yourself, for your friends, and for other people.
And you're not, so you're, that sounds so cool. So I love it. So you're going back to that experience, right? Which is amazing just all in of itself, because you think you can't do that. But it sounds like then you're not just wiring us back to that experience. You're wiring us back to maybe what we learned or what that was, so we can do that all the time. So that if I connected to the divine in my meditation, now I know how to do it, that I can connect easily anytime I want. Is that, do I have that right?
Yes, potentially.
Okay.
The more we go there, the more we go there, the more guitar we play, the better we play it. The more, and I think for many people, finding that connection is, sort of like, well, I meditate all the time, but I don't have these magical experiences,
Yeah.
but I want to.
Yeah.
And please don't hear this the wrong way. Meditation is of great benefit, just the disciplining of the mind and working with the mind. But if part of what you're looking for is a transformative experience, you'd like to have more of them, then brain spotting is a doorway to do that and to strengthen that so that they're more readily available to you next time you try.
Absolutely.
So really exciting potential in all of this, and we've just barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
To give you an example, some of the listeners out there maybe have heard of a book called Angels in the OR, which was written by my friend Tricia Barker. And Tricia, she was driving one morning, and she hadn't had her coffee that day, and got into a car accident. Let that be a lesson to all of us to make sure and have our coffee in the morning.
Our coffee right away. Yes, I do.
And she was in this horrific car wreck. I think her spine was shattered, and the doctors, she floated out of her body in her near-death experience and saw the doctors working on her, and she saw beings of light that were sending light into the hands of the doctors and radiating through her body. Genuinely powerful experience. Had an experience with her grandfather who crossed ahead of her. Just truly a moving and beautiful experience.
Yeah.
You can read her book, or again, Angels in the OR, or access that information online.
Yes.
She came to me and we talked about recatalyzing that near-death experience. And we actually, I just said, come, let's play with this and see what can happen. Because I was really curious. I hadn't done a lot of near-death experiences. And so we spent about 3 hours together, and she was weeping. She could feel the light go through her body again. She saw aspects of the memory that she had forgotten about and enriched it. And she said she better understood the whole experience. Okay. Now, it's not like she floated out of her body, but the emotional content was there, and the mental imagery, and a greater understanding. And she felt very much like she was, quote, back in the light again.
Yeah, because, well, I'll talk about my sister. Had a near-death experience. Also, she was in a very bad motorcycle accident. I know that you met her, and she had that experience. It was powerful, but it was almost like it kind of came in a way that she had the memory, but it was kind of scattered, and probably because that's not the way we're used to seeing things, right, or experiencing things the way that we would with the NDE. And so going back and experiencing that, I feel was very powerful for her. And it sounds like for your friend as well.
Yeah, sometimes people have these experiences and they're curious and they don't know what to do with them. It's like, what does that even mean? Or where did I go? Or what happened?
Or why did I have that too?
Why did I have it? Yeah, absolutely. In my book, The Quickening, Leaping Ahead in Your Spiritual Journey, there's a whole chapter on spiritual activation. One of the stories that I tell is about a woman who said that, I think in the book I call her Angela, and she remembers about ready to be giving birth to one of her children, and she felt like labor was coming and she was going to give birth, and the doctor said, no, it's not happening. And she said, yes, it is. And I think and he had her legs up in the stirrup, and pardon the graphic, she said, that's blood splattered everywhere. And the last thing she said I saw was the robes of what must have been a 50-foot angel behind the doctor.
Wow.
And then she passed, and she said it was beautiful, and of course it was a little horrific at the same time. And she goes, but I wonder what that was about, or what that angel was. We went back and reactivated that memory through spiritual activation. And she said she floated up through inside the angel, and she saw all these beautiful swirling lights. And she realized that her soul was untethered in that moment, and that she recognized herself fully and completely as a spiritual being, and was absolutely sure that out of the experience in the spiritual activation, which she did not have when she just saw the base of the angel. She was interested in metaphysics, but convinced of nothing. Yeah. But she floated up and saw all these beautiful colors, and got guidance about giving birth to her son, which I won't give the specifics of, and then came back down into her body and was totally satisfied. It's like, oh, there was a lot more of this experience, and I either went back in and re-experienced it, and I'd forgotten it, or maybe I went there for the first time. Who's to say?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But how powerful for us to understand that that's there for us, and it's always there for us, that we can always connect. So that's part of the training then too, right? So it's memories, but it's also understanding that's always there.
Yeah, well, and what I would say is, it's hard to re-embody that. We might have faint memories of a powerful experience, but these are incredibly useful, and they have so much to teach us. And so the more we can understand them and experience them, then, there's a famous quote by a theologian that says, the idea is to take flashes of insight and turn them into abiding light,
Yeah.
And so these flashes that we have, the more we can study them, the more we can embody them. Again, I can't stress this enough. They take us forward on our spiritual journey in a way that just spiritual study or reading or intellectual information doesn't. And again, that is not I'm not saying, don't read the Bible or don't read A Course in Miracles or whatever your spiritual study is, but it's those direct experiences that really take us forward much more quickly.
I agree. Because when you go back, I'm sure that when you take somebody back, it's like they're completely experiencing it again, and making sense of it. I'm just thinking about my sister's story when she told it to me. When she had the experience, it was scattered and it was all over the place, and she didn't understand it. And then she did after the experience with you.
Yeah, well, and there's an opportunity to integrate these things
in your life, right?
Yeah, there's again, not trying to convert anybody, but a spiritual teaching called A Course in Miracles. Some of your listeners may have heard of, and it says that if there's not a framework, I'm paraphrasing from it, if there's not a framework for these powerful experiences, they become more horrifying than they do beatific. In other words, it's like, oh my God, I didn't even know what was going on, and I left my body, and I was terrified, and it's like, but if you can go back in and re-experience them, and then you have a framework for what is happening, and it all comes together, then your mind can be, oh, so that's what it meant. And I didn't just see the base of an angel, but I floated up in it, and I touched, the divine, and I experienced it bodily, and oh, okay, now I can integrate that powerful experience into my life more readily.
And how powerful then for your life overall to have that knowledge and know that that's there, that angel really is there, and that you can connect. So I just want to say, for anybody that's just joining us, okay, because I see some people have kind of hopped on, is I'm Angie Apt, and I'm here with Greg Unterberger, and I'm excited to be with him. Greg is teaching a workshop at Fellowships of the Spirit. Okay. Spiritual Activation Facilitator Training level 1 at Fellowships of the Spirit this weekend. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you're going to have what he's talking about. You're going to have these experiences, and you're going to learn how to do this with your own clientele. So Greg, can you talk a little bit about the facilitator training? Who is this training for? Can anybody take this training?
Yeah, it's a great question. You do not have to be a therapist or a counselor to do this. This is what's exciting. I'm going to give everyone the tools that they need. Not only am I just going to talk about it and give you the tools, but we'll have an experience, and really I'm sure we'll have a nice small group, and I'm going to work really deeply with everybody that's there, and that they can sort of practice, pair off and practice with each other on the technique, and I'll be right there. No stress. There's no money or expectation involved. We're all students, right? And so I'm not only going to give the sort of technical end of things, which is not as complex as you might think. Okay, a lot of this is pretty much common sense, but we want people to understand and be comfortable with the modality that they're using. And then they'll have an opportunity to practice several times with other people, and several of the students I hope to invite up and to do a spiritual activation with them, so that they experience it directly and see what that's like, and so that they can do this for family and friends, for people that are already life coaches and you want another feather in your cap. how cool would it be able to say to your clients, hey, not only can I coach you on this stuff, but this meditation you had 10 years ago that you said changed your life, would you like to go back and re-experience that?
I'd say yes right away.
I mean,
Yes.
obviously we're not all about the money, but this is something that this is the very first time I've certified anybody to do this. So you will be literally on the vanguard of this work. There are some people, some therapists that are doing this in Colorado, as I understand, doing some spiritual activation out there. But this is for the public at large, brand new, and this is the first time I'll be certifying people. And so you'll be on the cutting edge of this. You'll really have a very unique skill that can be integrated. And whether you just want to do this to like spread the light in the world, or whether you want to do this professionally, and charge money for this, there's no reason why you can't do this. I'm going to instruct you how to do it so that it's ethical and it's appropriate, and so that you can get the results for your clients that you want.
Yeah, what a powerful tool, I think, to help people. So what inspired you? I know you said you've done this for 15 years. What inspired you to start the training? Is it the results and the things that you saw, or people kept coming to you with these kind of experiences, and how do I help them? Can you talk on that a little bit?
Well, I originally got trained in a therapeutic modality called brain spotting, which this is an iteration, or it's rooted in that idea. And the idea came to me. I was and the full story is in my book, The Quickening, Leaping Ahead in Your Spiritual Journey. I had a fellow therapist, and I said, if this technique, brain spotting, can be used to expand someone's self-confidence, for example, they're going to go on stage and give a talk, and this technique could be used to expand that sense of self-confidence. Yeah. And for other people, for peak performance, for sports people or dancers or musicians that had self-doubt, this could expand and that sense of well-being or trust in themselves. And I turned to my friend Jack Morrison and I said, Jack, what if we could take a spiritual experience and expand that and make that even bigger? I wonder what would happen. And the story's in the book if you want to read it, but literally we went in Jack's backyard, and I did the technique for Jack, and he remembered one of his powerful spiritual experiences, and he sat in it for about 30, 40 minutes, and he was just cooked. At the end of it, he's like, my whole body is shaking. It's like electricity's moving through me. We got to shut this down. It's like amazing, but a little too much. And then then I became the client, and he played facilitator and did the technique to me, and it's like, oh my gosh. And I had this, tears streaming down my face, chills up and down my spine, just like, whoa, it was the original experience, and then some clarity about it too. So that was the inspiration for it. And I thought, well, I'm going to play with this and see, now I don't get lots of people walking in off the street going, I want a spiritual activation, but, I've probably done 100 or so over the years. And I've certainly trained other people just, in a couple hours or something to kind of show the potential for the technique. By the way, once you learn spiritual activation, you can do it for yourself without a partner. You do not need anyone to facilitate the process for you. It will probably work better if you had a friend that was trained in it, but you can sort of do the facilitate it for yourself once you know how the technique works.
Yeah, that's awesome. You were saying you've done, not everybody comes in for them. I think if people knew about this, more would come, because I feel like we all have those experiences somehow. Because I talk to different clients and so many people that say this happened or that happened, or they heard something, they went in the hospital, and my friend's son was in a coma, for a while, which he's okay, but we had all kind of experience like of hearing him say hi mom when he was in a coma, or things that he remembered while he was in the coma that we were like blown away, and so I kind of felt like for us that was a huge spiritual experience. Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And it would be fun to re-encounter those and use them as sort of doorways to go even deeper potentially.
Yeah.
Again, I think the potential for this technique is huge. I think it might be able to be used, although we won't talk too much about it this weekend, but I think it might be able to be used to strengthen psychic experience in general or mediumship skills. I have worked with some people informally who had psychic or mediumship abilities, to sort of tincture it and fine tune it and help them tune out when they didn't want to get too much information about people, like they walk into a grocery store and start picking up on everybody, and how to close it down and how to open it up, using variations on these techniques.
Yeah, that's important. Talk about that a little bit with the mediumship, because I know there are some mediums on here that would be interested in this.
Yeah, well, it's tricky. The brain knows how to get there. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't, and I didn't for the people that I work with, but I know how to facilitate that so that they can connect up potentially more deeply, and also how to, I don't know how to say this, because I'm not a medium. I've had some mediumship experiences, but where someone's come through, but it's not my specialty or what I advertise myself as, but how to block that when they're being flooded by information or too much information. And the brain knows how to get there, and we can stimulate the brain to do so, actually. So a little different from mostly what we'll be doing this weekend. But again, the potential for this is, I think, amazing. I think we're just scratching the surface with it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. This sounds so exciting. So, okay, so tell us a little bit about the format and what we're going to be doing this weekend.
Yeah, so we'll start, of course, by getting to know each other. It's important that we feel connected and feel safe with each other. I'll do some sort of preliminary didactic expression. We need to kind of understand what mystical experience is for people. And we need to make sure, one of the things I want to stress is that to honor whatever that experience is. I mean, if someone say they went to heaven and saw blue unicorns, I'm going to go, that sounds amazing. Are there blue unicorns in heaven? Shoot, I don't know. Maybe they are in this heaven. But to make sure and honor and be very supportive and connect very deeply with the client and honor whatever their experience is, and trust that it's not our job to tell them what it means, but to help them understand it, of course, but not to intrude upon them. So we want to be really ethical. We want to do this in such a way so that the client are safe. There are some areas that you need to know about so that the client doesn't drift off into something that's potentially dangerous. It's not rocket science, but I want to make sure, since we're not training therapists in this, that they know when to shut down the procedure and how to safely and ethically ground the person if they drift off into tagging into some traumatic memories for some reason. And who's appropriate. We'll have an opportunity to practice this with fellow students, as I said. Some individuals will be invited up from the audience, and I will do a spiritual activation directly with them so that people can see what that looks like. Have an amazing recording that I want to share with everyone. I was at Unity of Memphis. We had about 100 people in the audience, and a woman volunteered to come up to do a spiritual activation. And her memory, Angie, was that she'd been on a riding lawnmower and she heard a bunch of people singing Amazing Grace. Wow. And so she turned off the lawnmower and realized they weren't out there, they were in here.
Yeah.
And she saw her mother in her mind's eye being welcomed into heaven by this, not an angelic choir, but a bunch of regular people at an old church meeting, some on keys, some not.
Yeah.
And she was both moved and touched and sad and amused. And when it told her husband, Mom's just died. And then the phone rings, and guess who it is? It's her sister. Mom just died. That was the initial experience.
Wow.
Okay?
So she had that experience and didn't know her mom had died. That just came to her. Wow. I'm getting chills on that one.
Yeah. So really beautiful. And so then that's the one that we targeted with brain spotting. Okay. I mean, with the spiritual activation technique, which is based in brain spotting. And so we targeted that, and she blows into a full-blown NDE with her eyes open in front of 100 people, and Unity in Memphis. And thank God we were rolling tape, because nobody would have ever believed this. Yeah. She went from there to seeing her loved ones on the other side.
Wow.
She saw beings of light. She saw all her animals and critters that had passed ahead of her that were there jumping up on her and licking her. And she said, it's all of them animals. They're all here, Yeah.
Wow.
And she felt their presence, and she felt all the love. And for a minute, there was this huge doubt for her, but they're gone. They're on the other side. It's like, oh, but they're not gone. They're here, and they're watching over me. Okay. Yeah. And she had what amounted to a full-blown NDE nowhere near death. Okay. But the
Yeah.
classical elements of NDE, feelings of peace, overwhelming light, overwhelming love, contact with people who crossed over, beings of light that watched over her, all her animals that had crossed ahead of her.
Wow.
Okay. Her original experience was just, and there's nothing wrong with it, by the way,
Yeah.
riding on the lawnmower and hearing the choir and going in and tell her husband. It did not have any. She didn't float off into the light or meet anybody, but she did, and this person was not a professional medium. Okay.
Wow.
And didn't consider herself, she's interested in metaphysics, but didn't consider, she goes, oh, I'm not, she didn't consider herself very psychic at all.
Yeah.
Okay? And we triggered all that based on that experience. Think of what a gift that would be to be able to do that for friends or family.
Oh, yeah.
Or to be able to trigger that in yourself when you wanted to.
Yeah, to trigger that in yourself and live your life that way, knowing that somebody that you love that passed away is still right there, and knowing that for sure. And that's, I see my sisters, I'm making lots of comments about how amazing the training is. And she said brain spotting helps her relieve anxiety too.
Well, yeah, let's check in with some of those. Ashley says it sounds amazing. Thank you. Melanie says, hi, Angie.
Sharon Ravane, can we still sign up for the workshop? Yes, you can definitely sign up for the workshop. And after we finish the interview, if you go to comments, I'm going to post the link so you can, and also find out more information. So that's important. Okay, go ahead, Greg. You can look at the ones. Ashley, it's amazing. Melanie said hi to us.
Yeah, so obviously I can't talk out of turn, but Melanie, since you volunteered that, she said, I remember thinking I should be afraid, but I wasn't. I believe that's because of my understanding of life after death through Angie, and that I was helpful to her. Good, I'm so glad. She's saying brain spotting, which is what spiritual activation is based on, is amazing. Relieve anxiety too. Help me remember more about her powerful spiritual experience.
Yes, because
Kayla, she's interested. Yeah, come join us.
Yes, definitely come join us, Kayla. And again, I'm going to post the link so you can register and read more about the workshop in comments. And I know with Melanie too, that she talked about the experience. When I got to the hospital, when she had her experience, she said right away, I have to tell you about this. And then after she did the technique with you, she remembered so much more about it. And it was so much more specific. And I think she was almost kind of left a little confused after the experience, like that it was amazing, but it was confusing at the same time. And then having the experience with you, she understood it better. So is that part of what happens too?
Yeah, another opportunity to be helpful for people. There is this concept called spiritual emergency. It's also called spiritual emergence. It was coined by Dr. Stanislav Grof, who was one of the founding fathers of transpersonal psychology, along with people like Carl Jung. People that say that there's more than just our physical body and our ego involved. There's a part of us, a soul or a spirit or a part of the self that is beyond that, transpersonal, beyond the person. Yeah. And he said that sometimes people have spontaneous, powerful experiences. They have a mediumship experience where they hear from grandma, but they don't believe, maybe they're atheist or agnostic, and they don't believe that life continues. And yet grandma came, and it's upsetting and confusing. Or someone has a white light experience. Someone has a near-death experience. Someone is launched into the cosmos and flies around seeing colors, and they think they're going crazy or losing their mind. Part of, there's an opportunity to be helpful to those people by re-experiencing the experience and helping to put the pieces in place. So they go, oh, I'm not crazy. This was ultimately a good experience for me. Yes. Oh, I'm more than my physical body. I'm not hallucinating. I'm not going crazy. I just touched in with the essence of who I am, which is something beyond the physical body and my ego and the way I describe myself, the car I drive, the body I have, my age, my wrinkles, the usuals.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's you're connecting to who you really are, and what a wonderful thing then to live your life and just know that that's there. I feel like that's very comforting for a lot of people and to get to have the experience and then understand it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's awesome. So Melanie's saying yes with a bunch of explanation points with what I said with her. So thanks, Mel, for being on. So I want to put this up again so everybody can see. Okay. Spiritual Activation Facilitator Training Level 1 with Greg Unterberger. Okay. Learn to recatalyze and deepen spiritually transformative experiences like NDEs, near-death experiences, peak moments, and mystical states using a unique modality developed by Greg. Okay, so you're going to come and experience this, which I kind of feel like it's like a healing, really, to understand what these experiences are, but also at the same time you're going to learn how to use these techniques with others, which I feel like is amazing. The workshop is at Fellowships of the Spirit. So that's in Cassadaga. It's beautiful, beautiful location. You're right on the lake the whole time. We have a beautiful dock. The weather's going to be nice this weekend. Our beautiful deck, not dock. This starts this Friday. So October 3rd, October 4th, and October 5th with Greg. And honestly, how lucky we are, because it's the first time Greg has taught the facilitator training part of this. So if you come to class, you'll get to have all this experience and be the first ones to learn how to do this, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to be on the cutting edge of this. And again, think of what a unique opportunity this is for you, but also for your loved ones. If you are a life coach or a spiritual coach of some kind and you want to expand your toolkit, this is something that is incredibly useful. And talk about memorable. If you are the person that manages to, we actually use a wand, if you will, kind of like one of those things that you extend outward that looks like a car antenna. If you wave your magic wand for somebody and you make this happen, they will never forget you. They're going to be saying, oh, this was the life coach that took me into my near-death experience. They took me into the greatest meditation I ever have, and I learned so much. And you can bet that they will be excited and be grateful, and of course send you. Obviously this is not all about business, but this is a really nice tool to have in your toolkit, and it's the kind of thing that you can learn to do safely and ethically in 3 days, and make a huge difference for you. Yeah. Well, and also to be able to, we will teach you again, just to touch for those of you that came late. People say, well, that's great that I could do it for other people. What about me? Yes. Once you know the technique, you will be able to do it for yourself. Okay. So that you can intentionally recatalyze those experiences again.
Yeah. And you're going to experience that in class as well. You're not just learning how to do this with other people. You're having the experience. You're going to walk out of class feeling fantastic about your own experiences. Right.
Yep. Yeah. Because we'll have probably, if I know me, and, unless we'll try and create as many dyads as possible where you can feel confident both delivering the experience for people and how to do it appropriately and ethically and safely, and also to receive. And so, that's one of the great things about it. Some of you may know that I trained with Dr. Brian Weiss, the author of Many Lives, Many Masters, and trained in past life regression, as I know you are. And one of the best things about that was you pair off with somebody that was training with you, and they would take you to a past life, and then you get to take them to a past life. Yeah. And so you're absolutely right.
I know. I remember that. I was fascinated the whole time when I learned from Dick Sutphin, and it was, the same thing. We traded back and forth. So we had these amazing experiences and learned how to do it. It was awesome.
Yeah. And it's really important for people to know what it's like on the client end too. And this gives you ample opportunities. So again, we're not just going to try and book learn you and say good luck. We're going to put the wand in your hand, and you'll practice being facilitator. You'll have the opportunity. We're very patient, very supportive. Don't worry, there's no pop quizzes in this thing. We just want it to be a lot of fun for everybody, and just like a powerful learning at all levels, both experientially and didactically.
So everybody who wouldn't want to take this training, sign up right away. The graphic for it and the link for it is going to be posted in comments, and the link to register. So again, it's this weekend. You still have plenty of time to register. And again, I wouldn't miss this if I were you. So thanks, Greg. I really appreciate that we got to talk. I got to know you a little bit better, and your work sounds amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
Thank
We're
you so
lucky.
much for having me. Can't wait to see all of you guys this weekend. If anybody knows me, you know that we're going to have a lot of fun with this. We're going to treat it with a lot of humor. We'll take it seriously, but we got to spend 3 days together. So we'll make sure and have a good time. I promise you that.
You got to have fun too. So, oh, wait a minute. Will there be this course offered in the future? Kayla's asking that.
I'm certainly open to that possibility. That would be up to fellowships at another date. Right now, we do not have anything on the books for that. No.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'd be open to it, but nothing's scheduled right now, Kayla. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it so much. And again, I'll post the links. I'm going to post the books you talked about, Greg, too, and your books. I want to read your books. So
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Everybody have a great evening. And thank you for spending some of your evening with us. We appreciate it.
We'll see you soon.